Hey everybody, I'm excited to make this video because it's going to be about the advanced tricks for the advanced Rummikub players. Now, if you want to know how to play Rummikub, I got a video for that and I'll put a link in the description. But if you want to get good at Rummikub, then you've come to the right video. So I'm going to have strategies on how to win at Rummikub. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to play 2 players, not 4 players. And before we get going, just a few things. Number 1, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. And if you're not on my Patreon page, you're missing out because Patreon subscribers get to play games with me one-on-one. So go to the link in the description, sign up, and let's play. Let's get right into it. So the first tip is an easy one, and that's when you're looking for what to play on the board, always look for a string of 4 tiles and not a string of 3 tiles because it's the one with 4 tiles that's going to allow you to build. So in the case, for example, of these 4 2s, I do in fact really need that blue 2 so I can use it with my blue 3 and 4. And so because there's 4, that's always a good place to attack. So I can take that 2 and I can add my 1, 2, 3, 4. My second tip is sort of like the first tip, and that is whenever you see 4 and you have 2, break it into 2 groups of 3. So for example, I have 4 2s there, but I also have 2 2s there. So I can use my 2 2s and then I can build on it by just taking one of the 2s from down here. I have to either take the one that's blue or the one that's yellow. I'll just take the blue one. And continuing along, my third tip is an easy one. Always go for the joker, if you can do it. So I see there's a joker that's posing as a 1. I have a 1 in my hand. I can easily take that and move the joker, and always take the joker. Now, as you know, if you take a joker, you always need to use it. My next tip is about avoiding the problem areas. And the problem areas are the extremes of the highs and the lows. For example, a 1 or a 13. If you find yourself getting into a situation where you have a lot of 1s or a lot of 13s, you're potentially going to get caught because you're going to have a hard time laying them off. The numbers in the middle seem to be the easiest ones to move around. So when you see a situation like this, where I have 2 13s, actually I have 3 13s, be very mindful of the fact that you're going to need to start moving a lot of the high numbers around. My next tip, and this is really important, is about being able to look at the board and knowing if you can rebalance the board or not. And one of the things I do is I line up numbers on top of each other and try to line up the colors so I can kind of see how it would look. So for example, I've got 3s here, I've got 4s, 5s, 6, and 7s, and I line them up and I can see that, I certainly have enough to make a whole blue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I've got 5, 6, 7 in red, and I have 4, 5, 6 in yellow. So the question would be, what can I do with that 7? Well, I know that 7 can go there, and then I have these 4s and 3s. Well, the joker could actually replace the 4, and then I could use that red 3. So really the only thing I need to do is figure out what am I going to do with that 4, which at this point I actually don't have a place for, so I know that I can't actually rebalance that yet. My next tip is this. Is it better to just play 1 tile and not have to draw, or to draw in hopes that you're going to be able to play more tiles later? And I've seen people play this both ways. My personal feeling is this. Do not draw if you don't have to draw. Drawing could give you a number like a 1 or a 13, which is a difficult number to play. Always go for even just the 1 to save having to draw a tile. Your opponent may lay something down that in the very next turn then allows you to continue to move forward. If you draw and you draw something unlucky, it could be the difference between winning and losing. My next tip is that when you get late in the game and you have very few tiles left and your opponent has very few tiles left, do not wait around. You need to find a way to get out. In this particular case, I see there's 4 1s. I also have 2 1s here. There's also a 1 there. I know I can create 3 1s and get that out, but I really cannot turn this over to my opponent. Somewhere they must be able to lay down 1 and win. So now I'm stuck with this 11. Whatever you need to do, find a way to lay down your last 1. And sometimes it's a complete rejigger of the board, but I actually see I could use the 3. As you have a lot of tiles on the board and a lot of 4 tile runs and sets, use that. My next tip sounds very simple, but it's actually really important, and that is organize your rack from lowest to highest. In my case, I always start at the bottom left, I go higher, and then on my second row, higher with the highest numbers at the upper right. You'll be surprised how many things you'll notice on your rack that you wouldn't have noticed if they were jumbled. My next tip is this. Don't wait to go down. If you have 30 points and you can make 30 points, even if it's with a joker, use it. I've seen people try to fill their entire rack with tiles. I don't subscribe to that theory. Get your tiles down so you're prepared to start building on other people as they lay down their tiles. So I don't care what it takes. I've got 30, even though it's going to require me to use a joker. My next tip is to always look for the long runs and then ask yourself, can it be broken up? Look at this run here, 1 through 7. That's a lot. And you need a minimum of 3, so 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7. So the 4 is free here. And look, there's a 4 in my rack. I could pull the 4 out and use the 4 in my rack, and look over here, I can pull one of these 4s, and I was able to at least use something in my rack. Sometimes when there's not a lot to do and you have 2 moves that you could possibly take, instead of taking them both on a turn, meaning maybe on the very next turn you'd have nothing to do and you'd have to draw a tile, break it into 2 turns and do 1 each turn. So I have 2 moves, very simple moves I could make here. Number 1 is I have a red 13. It could easily go on those 13.
And number 2, I've got these 2 5s here. They can easily go with this 5 to create a set of 5s. But instead of doing both moves on the same turn, I'll do one of these moves on the first turn and then the other move on my next turn.
My next tip is to look for 2 runs where the highest tile and the lowest tile are the same, and ask yourself if you can combine them, thus taking the tile out. So here I have a 5, 6, and 7 of blue. I also have a 7, 8, 9, or a blue. I could actually take the 7 out and join them. Now, obviously, I have to use that 7 tile there, but I actually could probably pull that, and thus create a brand new thing. And this actually leads me to my next thing, which is sometimes if you have long runs, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, ask yourself, maybe I can break up the run. So, because if I was to move this 4 down here, I could then add this 3. And my next tip is to ask yourself, how do you get to the joker? Is there any way to get to the joker? Always consider that. And in this particular case, if I was to move the 7 here out of the way, suddenly this joker becomes free because the 9, 10, and 11 stands on its own. And I'm free to do whatever I want with it. And I can start to use it. Perhaps I can use it with my 13s. My next tip is also about breaking up long runs by creating sub-runs within it. So I have here a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but I also have an 8, 9 here. I could break this up. Actually, I could add an 8 and a 9 and build that there. And then I could always pull a card, 10. One of my favorite strategies is to always try to attack the wild card. So here by putting this 9 here, I have 7, 8, 9. I do need to make sure I can do something with this 5 before I can move ahead and move that wild card. So I can add my 5s down here, and now I've freed up my wild card. Another way to attack that joker is to see if the number already exists on the board after you've taken it away. So here is a 5, 6, 7 with a 7 is a joker. There's a 7 on the board here, and I can take it, and it'll free me up. I'll use that joker later, but I do have to do something with those 7s. But look, I happen to have a 7 in my hand. One of my favorite things to do is to look at a really long run and try to break it into 2. And I do have a long run here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I can break it into 2 and actually add an 8 there. I love to look at a set of 3 and say, can I remove that set of 3? Because sometimes it gives you an advantage in the game. So here's a perfect example. I have this 3 7s here, a red, blue, and yellow. And the yellow could go there, and the blue could go there, and the red could go there. And I've completely removed that set of 7, and I've actually freed up other tiles. In this particular case, I've freed up the wild card. I'm kind of getting to the end of my game, but I do have a 2 and a 3. And though I can't see anything right away, I know that I have this black 2, and I know that there's at least a free 2 there, and I know that the only other 2 I could grab on the board is this. Well, that's great, but it does create a situation with having to now play with the 1 and the 3. In this particular case, I could also take the 3, and I could also take the the 3 from my rack, which is my last one, and create that, but I also have to use that 1, and you see where this is going to go. I'm able to end the game right now by adding that 1. But this is part of the strategy, which is sometimes you don't have the answer figured out at the beginning. Go for it anyways if you feel like you're close. You might just surprise yourself. One of the things I hate in playing a game, it's my least favorite way to play this game, is when you only have sets and runs of 3 on the board. There isn't much to move around. All you can really do is lay down your own set of 3. I like to look at what I can add in any way possible to add 4 and 5 to start to make these longer runs and longer sets because it just makes it more fun. The only thing I can see is moving perhaps that 3 there. Or it could even go there. This is actually one of my favorite sneaky strategies, which is to look for runs and break it into 3 sets. So for starters, I've got 11, 12, 13 in yellow. I've also got 11, 12, 13 in red. I have a run, 10, 11, 12. Don't have the 13 in black. And actually in my rack here, I have a 10, 12, 13. Almost a run in blue. But all of it can be reconfigured. So let's go ahead and do that. 13, 13, even out of my hand. 13. Let's make one with 12s. Let's make one with 11s. I've moved a lot of pieces out of my hand. We're good to go. Now, I personally don't like having too much of exactly the same number and color in my rack. So I have 2 blue 4s there. They can't be played together either in run or sets. So I always want to just try to, if I get multiples of exactly the same, ask myself, how can I get rid of 1 immediately? How can I get rid of that 4 immediately? I suppose I could create a set. I could add that 4 there. Is there any other 4 that I can add? Because I really don't like dealing with that. Well, actually, I could. I could move this 1 here, and that'll allow me to take that 4. If you have some tiles that are just the same number and color, don't sit on multiples. Try to get rid of 1 right away. I hope this was helpful. Give the video a like and be sure to subscribe. And again, if you want to play with me directly, sign up for my Patreon page. Hope this was helpful. Thanks, everybody. Bye.